My first impression when I met my host family was just great. The first day they took me bike riding and they just welcomed me into their home. They helped me unpack my bags.
My first impression when I met my host family is that this was going to be a very difficult experience because I didn't speak any Portuguese. I was there for about a week for an orientation, and that's the only Portuguese we had. And I knew that my host mom was going to be really fun, and she was going to try really hard to help me with the language, but I just knew that it was going to be a difficult experience.
So my first impression when I met my host family was actually pretty awesome. So we were on the bus, getting into Bilbao, and my host mom was standing on the side of the street at the bus stop where we got out, and she had a little sign made for me, and it said Orionak, which is welcome to the Basque Country.
First impression when I met my host family was they seemed nice enough, they had done it before, so I didn't feel too concerned about the situation.
My first impression of my host family was, so I came to Mexico around 8 o'clock at night. That's when my flight got in. And so she wasn't able to pick me up, so one of her sisters was able to pick me up from the airport. And my first impression was kind of like that late night travel experience.
So the family structure in my household was I had both a host mom and a host dad, and then I had 2 younger sisters.
The family structure in my host family was I had a single mom, and then I had a brother who was around my age.
So it was just my host mom and her teenage son, so just the 2 of them.
So the family structure was there's a host mom, and then she had twins who were 12 years old, a boy and a girl, and then an older son, I think he was 23.
The family structure of the people I was staying with was basically I was living with the grandparents, so I had a grandma and a grandpapa that I was living with, and they had 3 adult children that had already moved out of the house.
The house I stayed in was super nice. I had my own bedroom, and then I shared a bathroom with the 2 girls in the family.
Yeah, my house, the way it was structured, was I had my own room to myself, and then I shared a bathroom with everybody else in the house.
So the housing structure, it was an apartment. I had one roommate who's also from DU, and then there was one bathroom that we all shared.
So my host family's house was pretty big since they had built it to house all of their 3 children. And so my room was actually kind of like their guest bedroom that they had. It was technically separate from the house.
The biggest surprise I encountered living with my host family, I think there's 2 things. One was I did not imagine becoming so close to them, to having that relationship to where I still text them and email them and wish them happy birthday on their birthdays, even though I'm back in the US. Could never imagine that. I celebrated my 21st abroad, and I was just overwhelmed by the love and support that they had for me. So I think that was the biggest thing. The second thing was I think I was surprised by when my parents came to visit how fluent in English my host parents were, and that they had hidden that from me the whole time. So yeah.
The biggest surprise about living with a host family is how quickly you do learn the language.
The biggest surprise I found living with my host family was just how much interaction I actually had with them.
My favorite thing about living with a host family, there were so many great things. I loved my host mom's extended family so much. I got to spend a lot of time with them.
My favorite thing about living with the host family is just the casual conversations that you have. Because at school it was all related to the subject matter you were on, very academic, things like that. But at home it was just casual little conversations about this, that, or the other thing. Stuff you haven't learned about in class.
My favorite thing about living with the host family was probably just feeling more a part of the city, I think. Having that resource for suggestions or anything, or just knowing that it was a home that you could come back to rather than, having your own apartment and kind of being isolated.
My favorite thing was, I think, just having a home away from home, and the fact that I was able to really have someone to guide me through what it's like to live in Mexico.
My least favorite thing about living with a host family, I think, was it was hard to manage my time of like spending time with my family rather than my friends, and figuring that out and navigating what was appropriate to be doing, who to spend time with.
My least favorite thing about living with a host family was sometimes just having people always home.
So my least favorite part, I think, was again, kind of the expectations they had for us. They didn't really invest, I think, in us a whole lot. It was just the bare minimum. It was just kind of a struggle communicating with them sometimes, and just the willingness, I think, to interact.
I just was a member of my host family. My sisters, my mom and dad, they definitely have a special place in my heart, and I definitely felt like I was one of the family.
My host family it evolved throughout the semester. At the beginning, I was spending a lot of time with my host mom and the rest of her family. There happened to be a bunch of family events like barbecues and stuff that we went to. But then I got to know the other people in my program a lot better, so then I started spending a lot of time with them too.
My relationship with my host family was very integrated, especially with my host mom. Her and I became very close. To this day, we're friends on Facebook, and so we'll send each other little messages from time to time, just checking in.
My relationship with my host family, I wanted a relationship that could be both, something that if I wanted to attend family events and really be a part of their family, I could, but if I wanted to do other things, I had that opportunity. So I think that's really what I ended up doing.
I think the most obvious challenge was the language barrier, and that I don't speak fluent Portuguese, but I truly learned a lot while being there. So that was I guess the most obvious challenge, but also just trying to navigate different cultural norms, values, all that kind of stuff. That's truly how you learn, is by living with a host family. Those kind of things.
The challenge of a host family, I think, is just communication. We did have some issues the first couple of weeks. And
the biggest challenge that I faced with my host family was definitely communication.
Living with a host family, I think I learned, for me personally, it was a big growth, a big part of my growth in relationships and understanding that even when there are cultural differences, that doesn't mean that you can't have a meaningful and fruitful relationship.
The biggest skill and understanding that I took away from my host family experience is that everybody is capable of so much more than they think they are.
I'd say the biggest skill I learned living with my host family was just being able to relate with people that come from such a different background as me.
Biggest skill, I think I probably took away the ability just to be flexible and to be more mindful of other people and how they live.
I think the biggest skill I learned was flexibility, and just to not expect everything to go perfectly or go the way I anticipated it to. So I think learning to just kind of go with the flow and be open for whatever was going to happen, that's what I learned.
If I studied abroad again, I would definitely live with a host family.
If I had to do it again, I absolutely would do the host family experience.
I definitely would go back and choose to live with a host family again.
Yeah, I think if I did it over again, I would probably ask for another host family, but I think I would be much more detailed in what I kind of expected out of it.
If I could go back and do it again, I would definitely still live with a host family.